Joined now by Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine. Senator, you got a lot on your plate, so I'm going to try to get through it as we go one by one. First, on reconciliation, how confident are you that Senator Sinema will get on board for this?
Jim, let me give you my intuition, not intel, because Senator Sinema has not told me, and she's doing her due diligence, so she has to do that. My intuition is I'm optimistic that she's going to be a supporter, and that is because while not everything in the bill is something she likes, and there's probably some things she wishes were in the bill, and I feel the same way, there are many pieces of the bill that she not only likes, but she's had a hand in crafting, the prescription drug piece and some of the climate provisions that she's been a strong supporter of. So she's going to do her own due diligence, but of the various things that are worrying me right now, worrying about her support of this bill is not top of the list.
Okay, are you worried about the Senate parliamentarian? Any update on whether the parliamentarian will conclude this fits the reconciliation rules?
I'm confident in that as well. Now, there may be some pieces of it that the parliamentarian may kick out. As you know, each piece has to be analyzed, and the parliamentarian has to rule that it's primarily budgetary, not a policy change. So you could see some adjustments, but I think the core of this bill, as announced, the deal is going to hold intact. And then we just have to go through a very long amendment process. And maybe that's a little bit more of the worry. Are there amendments that are kind of poison pills that cause challenges that if passed might cause problems for the bill? That's my larger worry right now, is just the amendment process.
Understood. Okay, we'll stay on top of it. You're working closely, not just with Senator Sinema, but across the aisle with Senators Collins and Murkowski on the Reproductive Freedom for All Act, in effect codifying protections from Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
You got two Republicans working with you. Can you get 10 GOP votes as necessary for this bill, do you believe?
Jim, right now I don't have more than just the two, but we didn't have 60 votes for gun safety legislation either 90 days ago. And then the tragedies in Buffalo and Texas led us to do something we've been unwilling to do for 10 years. I view kind of post-Dobbs America with stories about 10-year-olds being smuggled across state lines, to get a pregnancy terminated after a rape. There's going to be stories like this every day, states passing cruel and draconian laws. I think that may move votes toward us on a bill like the bipartisan bill that I introduced. So we're not there today, but we do need a federal statutory guarantee. And now we have more than 50 senators on the record supporting the notion of a federal statutory guarantee, which is a good place to start from.
Okay, politics, lots of primaries overnight. And as you know, Democrats were supporting some election deniers in these races, some far-right candidates, some of whom won. They won their primaries and now will be going to the general election to face Democrats. Do you support that effort?
No. I mean, look, if it were me, if I was at the DNC and I was chair like I was 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been supporting election deniers to win races, even though it might have made it easier for us to pick up a race in November. Don't support people who are contrary to, democratic institutions and values. But frankly, what you're seeing, Jim, is there's a lot of these races where Democrats aren't in at all, and yet those people are still winning, the election deniers. In Maryland, the Maryland Republican gubernatorial primary to follow Larry Hogan, a moderate Republican, the Maryland Republican Party have picked not only an election denier, but their attorney general candidate is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. And so this is who the party has become these days, this party of Lincoln. What a tragedy.
Other topic that you're working on, and you believe this vote might be coming, and that is to admit Sweden and Finland to NATO. Will their membership, in your view, deter Russia from further military aggression in Europe or make conflict more likely?
Jim, I think it's ultimately a deterrent. And as you know, if you polled Sweden and Finland, the populations on becoming members of NATO a year ago, you would have been lucky to get 25%. But Sweden and Finland, who are very capable militaries and who tend to do things together, they've seen the reality of who Vladimir Putin is, and they want to join with other like-minded democracies to protect themselves. Putin has made some tough statements about them joining NATO, but it's going to end up being a huge value to NATO, demonstrating the importance of NATO, adding capacity to NATO, and I think it's ultimately going to be a strong deterrent.
Okay, two more topics before we go. Taiwan Policy Act, another thing on your plate here. Bipartisan legislation would provide more security assistance to Taiwan, but it also would classify Taiwan as, quote, a major non-NATO ally. Does that commit the U.S. to military action if China were to invade?
Jim, you're going to see a really robust discussion about this in the Foreign Relations Committee. I'm a member later today. I think many of the policies in that bill are smart. They reflect the reality of what we're doing right now. I think there is some language, there's some efforts to amend or change some of the language that could be seen as potentially too forward-leaning. And I hope we do some more work to maybe align the positions of the Senate and the administration on this bill. So, I'm saying stay tuned, because I think you're going to see more work on this.
Okay, final topic here. There's open talk now about President Biden as the candidate or not as the candidate in 2024. Democratic Representative Carolyn Maloney of New York says she does not believe President Joe Biden will run again. Do you believe the president will run in 2024?
I have no idea. I've been asked if he does, will I support him? And the answer is yes. I don't know what his intentions are. I tell you, Joe Biden with the gun bill, with the CHIPS bill, with the veterans bill, which is not only on the burn pit issue, but it also involves construction of new VA facilities, including in Virginia, with this climate and inflation fighting bill. He's been on a roll in the last couple of months in a really positive way. So I have no idea what he's going to do. If he runs, I'm going to back him.
Senator Tim Kaine, we know you got a lot of work to do. We'll let you get back to it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jim.